Wait, how's this? How's this? I think now it's jumping move.
Is this on full volume?
Yes, it is.
Mine's delayed.
Uh, 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 uh. There we go. There we go. It was the connection. All right. Thank you. All right. All right. Sorry about that. We will go ahead and get started back on track. So today I wanted to go over the laws of secret mainly to reflect on were we actually able to fully attain the enlightenment that Master Okawa is expecting out of us. I think December is just a great timing to always reflect on this. What I mean by December is before Cantare celebration, because usually this is the timing when we get the new Lost series, and we're so excited about the new Lost series coming out, and we're so ready to move on to the next year. But have we actually truly grasped the important contents that Master Okawa wanted to teach us in the Laws of Secret? Because I'm going to be dead honest with you, until I started preparing for today's Sunday service, if I were to be asked, what is the main concept or what are the teachings from the Laws of Secret, it would take me a little while to to form my answer, which is not good. The reality should be we should always be aware of the main contents that Master Okawa is teaching us from the Lost series. One of my elder disciples has taught me that it's good to read the Lost series once a month. So that's still only 12 times a year if you think about it. And in the Kyouten, Master's book Think Big, Master's teaching us that the books that we repeatedly read eventually seeps into our subconscious, and without us even noticing, we start making decisions on the information we learned from that book. So by repeatedly reading a certain book over and over again, that book turns into you, and it turns into your unconscious decision-making factor. And that's what's important, right? We don't want to remind ourselves each time that, okay, so in this book it says this, so I'm going to say this. Or in that book it says that, so I'm going to make a decision like this. We don't have time for that in our lives. Our lives are so busy, and life is a succession of decisions that we make, right? And we are making these constant decisions in our life, which means we are constantly making our own future. And if that is the truth about life, if that is the truth of who you are, and if that is the truth of what is creating your future, your decisions, better off make a decision with Cantare values. And these laws series, let's look over to the slide. It is the policy book of the year. Masters taught us that the laws series are the policy book of that whole year. And so what does it mean as a policy book? It means that he is describing the direction humanity should move forward or move towards to throughout the whole Kyouten. So it's like a directional book for planet Earth, for humankind. But not only that, in my personal experiences from the past, I believe that Master Okawa, as Cantare, the father and the mother of our souls, he is actually educating us through the Laws series. Every year, through these new Laws series, he is giving his disciples new teachings to enlighten to, so that we will be the ones who can proactively and constructively lead the whole direction in the direction that Master Okawa is pointing to. Because yes, the Law series is the policy book, so he gives us the direction for humankind. But who are the ones who's going to lead people towards that direction? It's us. It is us disciples, right? Which means us disciples, every year, there's a certain requirement that is needed to add to our enlightenment. So today, what I would like to focus on is focusing on not the direction of the whole world, what this Laws of Secret is talking about, but specifically, individually, for each and every one of us. What were the types of enlightenment we were supposed to achieve through reading the Laws of Secret and through the year 2021? There was a new lecture that Master Okawa has given us recently. It's called The Light of Self-Discipline. And it was a very important lecture where Master is teaching us the basic stance or the mindset that we should continue to have in order to live a happy life in these chaotic ages. What I mean by a chaotic age, I'm sure we're all really aware of what's going on in the world. Just look at the tornado news that just ripped across the middle and the southern part of the United States. Apparently, I don't know the actual statistics, but they're saying that the death toll is likely going to reach over 100. And not only that, was it in Kansas that was hit the hardest? These tornadoes, there are apparently 30 different tornadoes, a couple dozen tornadoes struck at the same time. And apparently this could be the worst tornado incident here in the United States of America. Not only that, did you hear about the earthquakes that occurred in the Pacific Ocean near the West Coast? There were 32 earthquakes that occurred last week. And because it was a little far away from the shore, there weren't any tsunamis or anything, but 32 earthquakes around the same area. And 2 of them actually went above the magnitude 6. So they're not small, teeny, tiny tremors. It was a good, fairly strong earthquake. So these earthquakes are going on. And there was the mass school shooting that occurred in, I believe, was it Wisconsin? There were a couple of students that died in the high school shooting. And there's just all of these, when you read the news, there are so many scary things going on. But in these times, and of course, the inflation that is hitting really hard throughout the whole of America. A simple way to look at inflation, if you're confused about whether it's actually occurring or not from reading different news, just simply put, it's a simple math. Even if you're not good at math in your school, the simple way to see if we're in inflation or not is to look at the costs you're paying compared to last year. If you're buying the same things, and if it's becoming more expensive, it means it's inflation. If you remember Halloween, we bought a lot of chocolate for trick-or-treating, right? If you've noticed that the Crunch bars for the same price is getting smaller and smaller, that means that we're hitting inflation. So there's all of these scary, fearful things going on around the world, but that is an exterior environment that's rapidly changing, right? But what's most important that Master Okawa has been constantly teaching us is that we are the rulers of our own kingdoms of the mind. Nothing around us or surrounding us should actually be able to damage what's inside our mind. We should be in full control, and that is the true path to happiness. And in order to make that strong mind, self-discipline is the way. Hence, we'll be focusing on the Laws of Secret in the perspective of self-discipline. Can we graduate the Laws of Secret, and can we move on to the Laws of Messiah? I came up with 8 checkpoints. There may be more, but when I was preparing for this Sunday service, 8 of these points came to my mind when I was rereading the Laws of Secret. And we're going to look at each and every one of them today so that we can confirm to ourselves that we gained a new sort of enlightenment from this Kyouten. The first one, have you enhanced your spiritual perspective? 2, have you redefined happiness? 3, have you made the world more beautiful? 4, have you savored poetry? 5, have you departed from the rear side of heaven? 6. Have you gained dharma power? 7. Have you given hope and courage? And lastly, have you become prosperous? So these are the 8 checkpoints of how we lived throughout 2021, and if we were able to acquire these sort of enlightenment from this Kyouten. Let's look at the first one. Have you enhanced your spirituality? The pages that it's written in this PowerPoint, it's from the hardcover version. So if you have the softcover version, the pages are different. So I wrote these sections of each chapter where the excerpts are, if you would like to look over them in your own Kyouten. But here, in the afterword, page 235, Master states, we coexist with spiritual influences as we live in this world. And in chapter 2, section 1, page 70, while living in our physical bodies, we are constantly affected by various spiritual beings, and we undergo many changes due to those influences. We ourselves are spiritual beings dwelling inside physical bodies, and we are also influenced by external factors. We live under the law of action and reaction in this way. All right, so I believe this is an extremely important pillar of the laws of secret. If you remember what was written in this Kyouten, he talked a lot about spiritual experiences, as such as seeing the will-o'-the-wisps, or what is that called? The sleep paralysis, things like that. And he was reminding us how spiritual experiences that cannot be explained in modern day science occurs to a lot of us. By giving these numerous examples, he's telling the modern day people to not be arrogant with modern day academics. He's even starting out this book by saying that modern day academics is actually turning into an impediment towards the truth. It's actually turning into a blockage of knowing these simple spiritual truths. So, he's reminding us and he's telling us, and for us disciples, what's important is, have we lived every single day reminding ourselves about this fact that we are coexisting with the spiritual world, and every single time there is a spirit with us or connecting to us, because we're always thinking. When we're thinking, we're automatically connecting to different spiritual beings. Not only that, we've made decisions in the past in our human relationships. We could have made good human relationships that ended in good terms, but I'm sure there have been human relationships where it could have ended in bad terms, or there could be even a case where you hurt others' feelings even when you haven't noticed. So when these things occur, what happens is that the people who are hurt or who had a bad relationship with you in the past, they can be sending out negative thoughts towards you. So these thoughts even affect our daily life. Hence, in this Laws of Secret, Master has taught us the law of mirror. The law of mirror is actually the way to protect ourselves from other people's malicious thoughts or thought energy, or ikkiryo is what we call in happy science. Ikkiryo means in Japanese a living spirit. So it's a combination of one single person's thoughts and his or her guardian spirit coming at you with a specific purpose. So that's an ikkiryo. So that's why we learned about the laws of mirror this year. Now, did we, every single day, really feel that we are influenced by the spiritual world? One example for me was I did a ritual prayer service today. I did the doshi for it earlier. But when I was reading the words of gratitude, I really felt the existence of angels here in this room guiding that ritual prayer, that kigan. It felt really vivid. And I don't really feel it that vividly usually. I mean, I offer my gratitude knowing, like, in knowledge that they're here, but I was able to really feel it. So, in a way, I was able to give myself a pat on the back, saying that, oh, your spirituality enhanced a little bit through this year. Things like this, things like this. Have you always been aware that you are connected with unseen beings or unseen principles? Are you viewing the world based on universal spiritual principles? Is the first checkpoint in a nutshell. Do you see the world based on universal spiritual principles? I believe this can be a discipline of our right view. Laws of cause and effect. Are you really seeing your life in the principle of laws and effect or the principle of self-responsibility? This is another teachings that Master Okawa teaches us in the laws of secret, the laws of cause and effect. So, in a nutshell, the fact of who you are today is all due to how you lived up to today. It's no one else's fault, and it's nothing else's fault. We, each and every one of us, makes who we are in our daily decisions and daily thoughts and daily actions and the daily words we use. Do you really accept that fact? Have you truly accepted that? If you try to see the world in this spiritual universal principle, we start noticing that it is absolutely useless to blame the environment for our misfortunes. It is absolutely meaningless to blame other people for us not being able to achieve a specific goal. It all is inside you. So have you lived every single day, or have you reflected on yourselves every once in a while throughout the year that I am the one who's creating my own karma, and I am the one who's creating my own future, and I am the one who's solely responsible for everything that's occurring in my life? That is a universal spiritual principle. All right, so that was the first point. The second point that I wanted to look at is redefining happiness and unhappiness. Have you redefined happiness and unhappiness throughout this year? The reason why I brought this as a second checkpoint is in page 214, chapter 5, section 2 of this Kyouten, and this is what Master says. Dying itself is not unhappiness. Unhappiness means dying without accomplishing anything. Unhappiness means dying after making other people unhappy. Unhappiness means dying without making other people happy. And unhappiness means dying without guiding others to the truth. I want you to change how you think of happiness and unhappiness in this way. So, end quote. Have we lived with these principles throughout this year? Oh, sorry. Have we lived with these principles throughout the year? If I were to simplify this question, I would say it like this. What do you wish for in your everyday life? Every moment that we wake up in the day, what were your thoughts? What were your wish? What were the goals? What are your intentions or the purpose of the 24 hours that's given to you that day? Usually, naturally, what we think about is how we can be happier. We try to think of ways for us to be happier. If you're not at this state of practicing the exploration of right mind every day, if you're living a very materialistic way of living, it could be like, oh, today I want to eat this because I want to eat that. Oh, I want to watch this movie. I want to go out with my family. It's Christmas season, so I got to do this. It's like, you're just thinking about what makes you happy, right? But the contents of it, were you able to switch what you think naturally in the form of these questions or based on these statements that unhappiness means dying without accomplishing anything? Meaning, happiness means dying accomplishing something. Happiness means dying after making other people happier. And happiness means dying by guiding others to the truth. This is the definition of happiness. So when you wake up every day, did you have this kind of mindset? Were you able to live throughout the day with this sort of goal? And has that turned into your habit? I think this is crucial. Our daily way of thinking changes by purposely training ourselves to think in a certain way. But eventually, that turns into your habit, and that turns into your nature. It takes time, but that's the whole point of the light of self discipline. What is the light of self discipline? It's about changing the way we think every single day. We have to break it down to the segments of every single day. And the best way to alter and change our ways of thinking is to have a precept. A precept is a rule that you set for yourself. A precept is a rule that you set for yourself and you try to follow it every single day. And if you are a devotee or a member of Happy Science, it's required for us to have a precept. One of the most important precepts that Master is giving us members and devotees is the exploration of the right mind. He clearly states that this is a precept. Giving love, learning to obtain more wisdom, reflecting on yourself so that you haven't made any mistakes and you won't continue making that mistake, and expanding that joy and spiritual happiness to other people, which is in the form of progress. Have you been living by this code every single day or not? Not only that, it can be simple precepts such as reciting the sutra every day, reciting the prayers every day. That's not that easy to do, as we all know. It's not so easy to follow that precept. What else is there? Reading Master's Kyouten or learning something every day. In one of the laws series, the laws of wisdom, Master Okawa teaches us about Charles Bennett. What was his name? Bennett? Arnold Bennett, sorry. Arnold Bennett. Arnold Bennett gave an important precept for modern day people for back then, but it still stands today, which is living every single day, sparing yourself aside 90 minutes of intellectual input. 90 minutes of intellectual input every single day. That is the minimum that we should do. So have you been studying some sort of studies 90 minutes every single day or not? That's another precept. Another one that I like that I've been using recently is every time I read Master's Kyoutens, I do a short prayer in my mind, which is, by reading this Kyouten, please help me guide other people. Please allow my motivation or my incentive of reading this Kyouten for the purpose of helping other people. I pray like that before I read, because this is a new precept that I've made, but it's been working wonderfully. The reason why I decided to make this precept was because I noticed that I've been studying Master's teachings out of vanity. This feeling of wanting to look smarter or wanting to look great, wanting to be able to know the truth so I can teach people. And like not in a really loving way, but more like an arrogant way. And when I noticed that that was my root intention of studying Master's truth, even if I study Master's truth, every single truth that I learned is distorted in a way to benefit myself rather than helping other people. So that's why I started this new precept where I do a short prayer before I start reading Master's Kyoutens for the purpose of giving love. Anyhow, going back to, were you able to redefine happiness? Were you able to change the purpose of your everyday life? Where's where I wanted to get to. All right, let's move on to the third one, which is, oh yeah, before I move on to the third one, I want to share this sentence from you from the Kyoten. You will surely be thankful for the mystical truth that God's love has been letting you live. This is from the preface of this Kyoten. So Master says, if you can recall, this is a very important sentence of this Kyoten, right? Master is saying that if you awaken to these new spiritual principles to live by, or this new world view, you will understand that you're not living, but you're being allowed to live. God's power is letting you live. So this life itself is not something to be taken for granted. It's given to us. That's something to be very thankful for. But were you able to feel the sentence not just as a knowledge or a meme that pops up on your Facebook or your social networking, but like as in real concrete contents in your guiding like principles of your everyday life? Can you truly feel thankful the moment you woke up today? I'm not going to be mean and be like, please raise your hands if you felt this today, but put your hands on your heart and ask yourself, how many days throughout this year were you truly able to wake up filled with gratefulness to God? This is another precept, I believe, that'll help us reform our happiness, definition of happiness. The third one is, have you made the world more beautiful? I'm sure a lot of us loved this section from this Kyoten. As you all know, it's from chapter 4, right? Since you were born, have you made the world more beautiful? Did you make the world a better place? If you can answer yes to these questions, it means your life was a success. So, what does it mean to make the world more beautiful? Obviously, to make it better, which means it doesn't mean the whole planet, but like just the people around you, the people you meet in your everyday life, such as Maxine. She's certainly making the world a beautiful place because every morning when I do prayers with her, she ends up saying, "Thank you, Yushi." I've never met anyone who says thank you just for doing prayers every morning together. So, that really uplifts my heart and it really makes me feel good. And that makes me want to give a smile to other people, which gives me the strength of smiling in the street of Union Square. Well, Gilberto, you come and help us out, right? And not everyone's really nice to us. Everyone's rather more cool. Not everyone's nice enough like Brian to come and talk to us and have a good chat with good questions. A lot of people usually kind of less people are saying mean things now. I guess because of this Trump thing is becoming subsiding. But I can say a lot of people ignore us. so in that sense, Maxine, that one word thank you that you say to me gives me a lot of power throughout the day. Also, I believe Dylan is listening in from outside, but when we're having a book club on Wednesday, I can see how kind he is. The way he phrases things and the way he talks to people, his gentleness, and I never felt this before. I wonder why I have never noticed this, but recently I'm noticing how the way he puts his words is just filled with kindness, and I can tell that that's giving more and more people to open their hearts and to feel comfortable coming to Happy Science. I think this is what Master means by have you made the world more beautiful. It's just these simple acts of love or simple, beautiful words that you can give, or even a smile, right? And have you been able to do this every day? And were you able to exert that to an even bigger influence? To be able to do so, Master gave us a hint in this chapter. In page 199 of the hardcover, he says, "Know your brilliance based on the knowledge of the spiritual views of the world. Know the brilliance of other people around you and live a life of gratitude and giving back." This was the order he put it in. So in a new Kyouten that Master has given us in Japanese, it's the original theory of the developmental stages of love. We're going to be receiving this in English next year. In this Kyouten, Master teaches us, before moving on to the developmental stages of love, there's a certain requirement. I was shocked to see this, which is confidence. It says confidence. And then you can move on to the stages of love, which is giving love, nurturing love, forgiving love, and love and existence. So what does it mean by confidence? I felt that I found the hint in this Kyouten, chapter 4. Know your brilliance based on the knowledge of the spiritual view of the world. What does this mean? In Happy Science, when you become a member, we ask you to do a lot of soul searching. We start asking you to seek into yourself and to truly try to find out who you are. What's the purpose of your soul? And not trying to define yourself from materialistic values that you've had in the past before coming to Happy Science, but on spiritual values, which means money does not matter, your status does not matter, your skin color, your gender does not matter. It's just a matter of the thoughts you've had or what kind of a personality you have. Which is, in our terms, it's the Buddha nature. What are the characteristics in your personality, in your character, in your soul that represents something godlike? Which could be kindness, courage, being hopeful, intelligence, these kind of things, right? I'm sure all of us has it. Everyone has Buddha nature, so we all have a spiritual strength that's connected to God. And please try to discover it. Ask and it shall be given. You have your own unique strength. And one important thing that I learned in Japan this time was I did a meditation seminar on Zen, the 3 basic Zens. And one of the basic Zen is Chudo Zen, which is the middle path Zen, meaning it's where you do meditation to find out where your own middle path lies. Because Master taught us that each and every person has a different middle path, right? So then when I was trying to check my own middle path, I'm going to give you the secret today. It's very simple. So think of one matter that you've been working on internally. And then when you think of that topic, think of all of the extremes of the thinking that there could exist regarding that matter, and then try to find yourself within those 2 extremes where you're at. So let me give you a concrete example. I had an issue of trying to overcome my Tengu-like characteristic, which is that arrogant kind of forceful type of characteristic, right? So I was like, how do I overcome this? Every time I try to reflect this throughout the year, I find myself, I'm not giving love, so I have to give more love. And then a month later, I take some kind of a seminar, I notice the same thing. I'm not giving love. I have to give more love. And I'm doing that every month. And I haven't seen myself truly spiritually growing. But what I found out was that it's because I did not know where my own middle path was. So then, going back to what I said earlier, the 2 extremes is, one extreme is a complete self-absorbed, narcissistic guy who you would never want to be with, right? And then the other extreme is completely gone on the like Jesus. When you get slapped on one side, you allow the other face to be slapped. Something like that. You're completely submissive and you're absolutely loving. So these were the two extremes. When I looked at myself, I did notice that I'm not at the very end of self absorbedness. I do have some sort of love. And then I kind of like was able to draw out a line in the different dimensions. I felt that the ultimate extreme of love is ninth dimension. There's eighth, seventh, sixth, fifth. Fifth is the dimension where you give love, right? And then the fourth is like the spiritual world. I noticed myself that I'm in between four and five. I'm like right here. So I was like, oh, so this is where I am. And if this is where I am, if I'm always trying to be like an eighth dimensional or a seventh dimensional being, no wonder I'll never be able to get there. So for me, my middle path was here. So what I needed to do was, here's what's important. When you grasp where you are in that two extremes, Master is saying, please accept that that is your own character. You're allowed to accept that character. That was the game changer for me. Usually, what it went through my mind is every time I noticed something bad or that's going against Master's teachings, I felt that I needed to correct it instantly or I'm a bad disciple. But no, Master is giving us a leeway. He's saying, first accept that personality as who you are, because that's who you are. There are good sides to you. And then I was like, oh, that's true. I do have a good side. And then I was able to like come in good ends with myself. And I was like, all right, Yushi, you can just do a step forward. Start giving love little by little so that you can reach the fifth dimension. And I was able to accept that. And then I had this flash inspiration from heaven saying, if you are to be in the fifth dimension, start out by making your wife happy. I was like, thank you for that wonderful inspiration. That's very true. So all of the people who's worldwide watching this video today, I make a confession that today, here on, I'm living every day to make my wife happier. But sorry, I think I got a little off track. But going back to the point that I was talking about, it's really important to know your own brilliance in a balanced way. Don't beat yourself up. Don't be too easy on yourself. But like slightly be strict on yourself. But remember that Cantare is a cheerleader supporting you. And I think that would be like a good amount of way to look at your not your strengths, but your weaknesses and shortcomings. And then by being able to do so, it works like magic. Master talks about this in the laws of happiness, that if you can see your own strength and your own beauty, you can see others too. You can only see other people's strengths when you can first see your own beauty or your own strength or the own part of your soul that's connected to Cantare. Hence, this, I believe, was a very important passage to bring out from the laws of secret. All right, so in a nutshell, beautifying the world around you, let's speak beautiful words. It would be right speech in the Eightfold Path. All right, that's 3 out of 8. Let's move on to the fourth one. Have you savored poetry? Who would have thought that this would come from the laws of secret? But this is actually a very important teachings of this year. It's in page 62 of chapter 1, section 5. And Master says, please cultivate a transparent heart, a heart that understands poetry. It is important to have a pure heart to be able to savor poetry. So how it got to this sentence was Master was explaining how modern day academics is turning into a blockage for purity. People who are academic, people who are smart these days, tend to be more materialistic. That's why he's saying that for people who become materialistic, start out with poetry. When you have the heart of being able to savor poetry and arts, that is actually a first step towards having a transparent or pure heart. So now, I would like to show you one of the poetries that Master has been giving us every single month. In our monthly magazine, in the very beginning, there is something called the Guide for the Mind. And I believe this is Master's poetry that he gives us, and it's very beautiful. So let us just take a little bit of time to watch one of the Guide for the Mind from Master Okawa. All right, thank you very much. So that was In the midst of love and reminiscence, Guide for the Mind from 125. What's so beautiful about poetry or art is I'm not the one who to talk because this is definitely not one of my strengths. But what I've been learning recently is that it gives you allowance to explore into what this could mean. When it comes to the three principal values of this whole universe, it's truth, righteousness, and beauty, right? Truth is, in a way, it's clear cut to a certain extent. There's a direction to it, right? And righteousness is definitely has a clear image and what's right and wrong. But beauty, it's got this room for us to really delve into our own Buddha nature and to make our own ways of interpreting things. So when you're in religion, we kind of are aware of interpreting things too much because we interpret things in our own way and that can deviate ourselves from the path of the truth, right? So we always try to stay in the path of the truth. Correct, what's right and what's true. But such as that poetry we just saw, he sent a bouquet of rose down the river. What is that rose? In my mind, I was thinking that even though Master Okawa went through so much um, pain that we will never be able to understand, yet still he's thinking of giving love to people who he doesn't even know. Who knows who's going to pick up that rose down the river? But yet still he continues to give. You see, that's not written in that sentence, but I was using my imagination, probably gaining the guidance of my guardian and guiding spirits to give this beautiful view, right? So I think this is what Master means by savoring poetry. It's like you delve into the world of your Buddha nature and the heavenly world, and it gives you that really transparent heart. So I brought this up as the fourth point of what to learn from the laws of secret. Let's move on to the fifth one. Have you departed from the rear side of heaven? Have you departed from the rear side of heaven? All right, let's take a look at this one. I believe this is the main theme that a lot of people, most of us have thought of what this Laws of Secret was about. So in chapter 1, section 4, Master says, some spirits stray from the path as they strive to acquire force. Moving on, chapter 1, section 5. These spirits, they're called Tengu Yokai Sennin, who undergo spiritual training but do not take the royal road of angels and bodhisattvas, have formed their own worlds apart from what is known as heaven and hell. These spirits are not exactly demons or devils, but they are mostly interested in gaining recognition and respect from the world by boosting their spiritual powers through egocentric efforts and achieving self-realization. End quote. So did you know in the spiritual world, it's not just heaven and hell. It's not just heaven and hell. So there aren't just good beings and bad beings, but there are also mysterious beings. Mysterious beings. That doesn't mean that they're devilish or they're demons. So it's not like they fall into hell, but they're so self-absorbed with power and how to look good and how to show off that strength. And sometimes that strength can be used in a bad way, which is then they will end up in hell. Sometimes that strength can be used good, they'll end up in heaven. So these are mystical creatures. Master is saying that these beings can actually move around. These three types of beings have the ability to travel between heaven, the spirit world overlapping with the earthly world, and hell. These are important points to remember. So these beings can move to different places. They can stay on earth, they can go to heaven, and they can also go to hell. So why is this important? You know how in the first out of the 8 checkpoints, what I was talking about today is enhancing your spirituality, meaning knowing where you are connected to in the spiritual world, objectively, is very important. So what kind of spiritual world are you gaining guidance from, or are you hearing inspirations from, is so important. And in order for us to departure from the rear side and go to the front side or the major side or simply heaven, there's one litmus test that we can do, and it is this. Check whether you are result driven or purpose driven. Purpose meaning like motivation or incentives. So in your daily life, are you more focused on results, such as the numbers or achievements or how other people sees your success? Something tangible. Is it only that you're thinking of something tangible results, or purpose driven? Are you more focused on your motivation? Are you always checking on whether or not your mind is in the wrong direction or not, is in the wrong place or not? Are you always trying to give love? Is love your motivating factor, the most motivational factor of everything you do or not? You're more rather focused on here, what's going inside your mind, rather than what's occurring around you or the results you're producing. So this is very simple. It's in a Kyouten called Kanjizai Riki. Hopefully it'll be in English soon. But just check this, and then you will see if you're in the rear side or in the major side of heaven. And for those who would like to see this more in a concrete terms, there's this wonderful movie called Beautiful Lure. Beautiful Lure. So this has now, it's in a form of DVD. You can buy it on Amazon, and you can also buy it at the temple. It's $15. But this, I'm sure everyone's seen this movie, but this movie is about outer appearance, outer beauty, and this politician who's going to be the next prime minister of Japan. It's all of this extravagant outside appearance and wonderful, luxurious things that can see from materialistic views. But this movie is talking about what is true beauty and how those, if you're only attached to worldly things, in the end, you will not find happiness. So that is really depicted really well in this movie. So I really recommend you getting this DVD and watching it again, once again. I'm sure we forgot a lot of the important messages. All right. So that was the 5th checkpoint. Let's move to the 6th one. Have you gained dharma power? Have you gained dharma power? So this phrase is not from the Kyouten, but these are the words that Master has given us when he allowed us to publish this book. It was his comment. And he says, the concept of this Kyouten should be centered on the dharma power and so on. Dharma power, force, spirit world, and others are essentially a spiritual secret, but I wish we could put together a book of what we can publish to the public. Let's go into a little more of the quotes. Chapter 4, Section 5. All people have at least a small amount of spiritual power, or dharma power. You will be able to emit a slight halo by studying the truth. This will be possible through spiritual training. Let's look at another one. Chapter 3, Section 5. Those who have managed to control their worldly desires well, and preserved and accumulated that energy as savings, can more easily exert spiritual powers. Apart from physical forces, there is a spiritual force, the force of willpower. All right, so this is definitely one of the secrets that is being revealed through the laws of secret. We have a force, kind of like in Star Wars, they can use the force, but it's not as physical as that. Sometimes it can be that powerful, but usually this force is used to defeat evil spirits or demons. So it's about exorcism. Now, I know that when I first started reading this book, this is coming out of my own self reflection, but when I looked at the chapter titles, it talked about recovering from spiritual disturbance, the condition of the real exorcist, the right way to conquer the devils. 3 out of the 5 chapters was about exorcism. And I was like, why is this important for the normal public people? Isn't it like more for people who are in happy science or who are in religion? So I was having a hard time perceiving what was Master's intention of wanting to publish this to the world. But then there is this one sentence that caught my attention in chapter 2, page 70, the very first section. And it's chapter 2 is recovering from spiritual disturbance. He says, this chapter deals with a basic topic, a theme that is unavoidable for those involved in religion. This is the kind of knowledge we must have as humans living on Earth. This is the kind of knowledge we must have as humans living on Earth. But it is one of the truths that are not taught through education, academic studies, or science. So it's a must-learn thing. We have to know about it. Why? He goes on to say this. While living in our physical bodies, we are constantly affected by various spiritual beings, and we undergo many changes due to those influences. We ourselves are spiritual beings dwelling inside physical bodies, and we are also influenced by external factors. We live under the law of action and reaction in this way. This is a quote that I showed you earlier. So whether we know it or not, we're always being affected. And he says that 50% of the modern day people are affected by evil spirits. 50%. Which means half the people in this room are affected by evil spirits. We are definitely also the target of evil spirits too. So dharma power is extremely important. When you start feeling that something is wrong, usually starts out with your perception of how you perceive things or how you react to things. When it comes to human relationships, usually you tend to start looking at people's shortcomings rather than their good parts when you are affected by an evil spirit or when you're spiritually disturbed. When you think about your future, you can only think about unfortunate prospects and you cannot be hopeful. When it comes to religion and faith, you start reading between the lines thinking that there's an ulterior motive of this guy trying to deceive me or something like that. You see, you start becoming more suspicious, more doubtful, more sensitive to negative aspects. When that occurs, that means that you're spiritually disturbed. So then, Master is teaching us through this Kyouten the ways to be able to protect ourselves and other people too from evil spirits. And the most important way is the quote that I just read. Those who have managed to control their worldly desires well and preserved and accumulated that energy as savings can more easily exert spiritual powers. So it's all about a daily discipline. Every single day, have you disciplined yourself more on not succumbing to worldly desires, but choosing to make the right efforts, right spiritual discipline. So in other words, I put it like this. Have you controlled your worldly desires every day? Did you live each day practicing your precepts? Again, the importance of precepts come in here. It's really hard whether to check whether or not if we're doing something right or wrong, what's inside our mind, because it's not objective. You cannot see it. That's why having a precept is so important. It gives you a clear rule to follow so that you know that you are practicing spiritual discipline every day. So it makes it more clear. If you don't have a precept, it's really hard to continue on doing any form of spiritual discipline. This comes from my experience, and the reason why Master states that the exploration of the right mind are precepts, I think that's a big hint right there. We need to have precepts to be able to explore the right mind. All right, two more. Number 7 of the checkpoints out of the 8. Have you given hope and courage to others? Even if a worldwide depression were to occur, there needs to be someone who can give hope and courage to others. Do not use your current environment or condition as an excuse. Instead, let us build up a new power and use that power to lead the world. This section is like a koan, I believe. It's a phrase to contemplate on. Were you able to give courage and hope to others throughout this year? This is something that we should definitely think about. And in order to do so, in the same chapter, he talks about the importance of believing in El Cantare and spreading El Cantare faith. So, in other words, for us to be able to give, continuously giving hope and courage to other people, we have to ask ourselves, do we have faith in El Cantare every day? Or do we have faith in the fact that the modern day Messiah or the Savior is now here on earth with us? Right here. We're living in an extremely miraculous age. We all know this here, but do you feel that? Sometimes when I flew to Japan last month, when I was breathing the air in Tokyo, I was like, oh, I could be breathing the same oxygen that Master Okawa was breathing in. That sounds kind of weird, but so for people who go to Israel and who goes to the Holy Land, and when they walk around that area, they're like, oh, I'm walking the same steps as Jesus walked, right? That kind of feeling. Do you have that feeling every day? I think is what's important. So it comes to, out of the Eightfold Path, it's actually the 0th step, not the first step, step number 0, which is right faith, the premise of being able to practice the Eightfold Path. And then lastly, 8, have you become prosperous? This is, there's a book, obviously we all know this, Kyouten, The Laws of the Mind to Make Your Wishes Come True, a spiritual message from Napoleon Hill. Master says in the preface of this Kyouten, this is a special book in a sense, it complements the contents of the Laws of Secret. So whether to check if we were able to practice this Kyouten, I brought up 3 points, a summary, which were, have you lived every day with a transparent and a burning desire? It needs to be both transparent, which means with the heart of love, and did you live with a burning desire? Did you feel a sense of mission every single day or not? And was that desire strong enough to change the environment and your circumstances? 2, have you created a mastermind, a core alliance of people facing the same direction? So Napoleon Hill's spirit is teaching us in this Kyouten that in order to achieve something big, you cannot do it alone. You have to create a mastermind, a group of people with the same burning desire, with different skill sets, with different strengths. And we had to work as a team in order to accomplish something big. Those of us who are still in the rear side of heaven, one tendency is that they hate teamwork. They like to do it by themselves. So this is the opposite of what the rear side of heaven beings think about. And then 3, was your leadership based on fairness and selflessness? One important thing that Napoleon Hill, Dr. Hill talks about in here is that as a leader, you need to have these 2 qualities, fairness and selflessness. Fairness meaning, so once you start creating a core alliance of the mastermind and when you start doing teamwork, have you been evaluating all of your teams, the work that they do, in a fair way? What's the opposite of fairness? Favoritism. You can only cherish the people you like, and the people who you don't like, you don't treat them fairly. So that leads to selflessness too, right? Were you able to detach yourself from your personality, detach yourself from who you are, and place yourself more as a public servant, a one responsible for that position, thinking from that standpoint rather than from your personal standpoint? We're able to look at things, judge people from that public standpoint is being asked of us. So these were the 3 points that Napoleon Hill taught us in order for us to become prosperous. Throughout the year, if we feel that we haven't prospered, it means that there's something that we can still work on. These are the hints that we can work on to improve ourselves. All right, so those were the 8 checkpoints that came to my mind when looking at the laws of secret, whether we can graduate from this Kyouten or not. Going from the top again, have you enhanced your spiritual perspective? Have you redefined happiness? Have you made the world more beautiful? Have you savored poetry? Have you departed from the rear side of heaven? Have you gained dharma power? Have you given hope and courage? And have you become prosperous? And let's continue working on this. Again, like I said earlier, it's good to read the Laws series once a month. So before moving on to the Laws of Messiah, please read through this Kyouten one more time. Even if it's just the parts that you underscored, it'll shorten the time of you reading this Kyouten. But it's really good to go over this right before the Cantare celebration. With this in mind, we were going to be moving on to the Laws of Messiah, which is the Book of Salvation. I'm not going to be doing any talking on this. I just want to show you a video. This is a video of the compilation of the 5 chapters inside this Kyouten. And, it's like a promotional video of happiness planting for this Kyouten. We want to promote this Kyouten, so we want to give this book away to many people. So we're going to need a lot of the financial support. So this is a promotional video for that. So let us watch this and conclude today's service.
私たちは未来をまだ変えられる地点にあるので、どうかですね、そうした、民衆を弾圧できるような独裁体制、全体主義体制ができていて、例えば8割ぐらいの人がこれはおかしいと思っていてもそれを口にできないような体制の中で核兵器を作り侵略意図を持っているようなところに対しては数多くの人の意見を反映しようとしている、西側と言われる世界の人たちは、そうした未来が、未来の暗雲が広がることを食い止めることが大事だと思うし、民主国の中でも自分たちを堕落大敗させていくようなものに対しては一定のそれを律する心が必要なのではないかと思います。メシアが出てくる時というのは大抵地上において大きな価値観のぶつかりが起きている時になりますので、人々の多くが何が正しくて何が間違っているか、善悪を峻別することがとても難しい時代であろうと思います。まだ誰も言っていないか少数の人しか支持していないような思想や考えを率いてそれを大きなうねりに変えていって、世論といいますか、人類の価値観といいますか、そういうものをひっくり返していくというふうな仕事になることが多いと思います。正しきものが滅びていくのを見過ごしてはならない。その方向で現代のメシアは語るべきだし、その方向で行動指針を出し、世界に、そうした行動を起こしていくように、情報発信して活動していくべきだと思います。 地球人類が今80億人近い人口になろうとしている中で、半分以上の人たち、過半数が間違った思想、要するに信仰を持たない世界を作ろうとしているなら、これに対する反作用が始まりますので、どうかその前に、人類の考え方を変えていきたいと思っています。それが私は旧聖書の仕事だと考えています。旧約聖書にあるソドムとゴモラの悲劇を見て堕落している人類を神は許さないんだということは知った方がいいし、悪なる勢力を増大させて、善なるものを滅ぼしていくものに対しては、やはり、巨人ゴリラテに対して、ダビデがという少年が石と縄だけで3メートルもある巨人と戦って倒したことがあるように、その体の大小を見て恐れるのではなく、正義はなされねばならないということを知っていただきたい。そのターゲットはささやかに見えるかもしれないけども、そのささやかな戦いが象徴的なものであるならば、それに勝つということは後々に大きな影響を与えることで、全てのところで全部で勝つということよりも、象徴的な小さなところで勝ちを収めていくということをもう一度この的な頭で考えて推し進めていっていただきたいと思います。幸福の科学がやってきたことが、このレベルで中立ったら、本当のメシアの仕事にはならないのではないかというふうに思います。どうか私は幸福の科学の教えが地球の隅々まで広がることを求めています。なかなか行き渡りませんけれども、160カ国以上にはもうすでに信者がいます。日本からだけでは力が及ばないこともございます。その国で、種がまかれたら、その中で発芽して大きくなっていってください。何万人、何十万人、何百万人と広げて、伸ばしていってください。
Thank you, Master, for giving us the new Laws series, The Laws of Messiah. Alright, so I think a lot of us have felt the shift from the laws of secret to the laws of Messiah. A grand message of fighting for the survival of humanity will begin. But again, there is a link to each of these laws series. So, with this spiritual foundation, it'll be easier for us to build the El Cantare celebration based on the principles what's talked about in the laws of Messiah. Thanks to all of your support, we still have a lot of the laws of secret to give away to people in the streets. And Gilberto was here with us a couple times this week, but and Makiko-san was there too. But hopefully, you guys can come with us more to the streets and do the spreading. Little by little, every day, there's about 10 to 20 people who sign up to get new books. And not only that, there's a couple of members born every single day. There are some days when we were able to create 10 members in a day. Some days one, some days none, but still, every single day it's moving forward, and we're able to give out this Kyouten to these people. So your support will really be appreciated in spreading the laws of secret. And also at the same time, what we're spreading is this beautiful flyer that Maxine made for us. It's a two-sided flyer, but it's like a pre-order flyer for the Laws of Messiah. If you look at the right side, there's a scan code. From there, it scans over to the Amazon.com to be able to pre-order this book. And we want many people to obviously buy this Kyoten too. And this, thanks to Keiko's support, we were able to get good quotes for this Kyoten. So this flyer has like important quotes from each chapter. So people will know what this book is about. So you can use this for people to pre-order the book. You can use this to explain that this is an important book because of this. So everyone, I passed it out today. So please read it yourselves so that you know what this Laws of Messiah is going to be about. And also, one side of this flyer is the Earth Says All You Need Is Love. It's about December 19th. Our El Cantare celebration will be holding here in New York, which is next week Sunday. So please be here, and please invite as many people as possible to this event. It's the biggest annual event, one of the biggest annual events of Happy Science. And so that's going to be next week. The Earth Says All You Need Is Love. And also, since we're talking about Laws of Messiah, January 9th, Sunday, January 9th, we're going to have the head reverend from international headquarters, Reverend Keith Shimada, come here to New York to give a one whole day seminar. It's a one-day seminar. It's called a Koan seminar or a contemplation seminar on the Laws of Messiah. So we're going to be contemplating on the key phrases from this Kyoten so that we can truly, fully understand how magnificent these teachings are. And so that we can, like we did today, there are a lot of points of enlightenment that Master is teaching us through the Laws series. So through the Koan seminar, it allows you to not just study Master's teachings intellectually, but it allows you to compress it into your soul by contemplation. Without meditation, without contemplation, the truth only stays here. It does not turn into an internal part of your soul. This is what Master clearly stated. It does not become a part of your gose. Gose is like the part of your enlightenment without meditation and contemplation. So January 9th, Sunday, please keep that date open too, so that you can join here for that one-day seminar. It's on Sunday. And that concludes today's Sunday service, from the Laws of Secret to the Laws of Messiah. Thank you everyone for joining, and see you next week here for the El Cantare celebration. To conclude the service, let's recite Come What May together. Come what may, Ryuho Okawa. Come what may, you are my sunshine. Come what may, you are my diamond. Come what may, you are my only teacher. So I love you, my master. So I believe what you talked about. Please save me, my master. Please help me, my master. You are the love. You are the peace. Please get rid of my sufferings. I believe you can do it because you are the Savior. Hope can defeat my setbacks. Come what may, I believe in you. Come what may, your truth shall prevail on earth. Come what may, you are the light of heaven. So I'm just following you. So I believe in your teachings for good and all. Thank you very much. See you next week. Thank you.